Tiana's Bayou Adventure is a very controversial attraction because it was a reskin of Splash Mountain, which was many people's favorite attraction, including me. I have made 2 review videos for Tiana's Bayou Adventure for both versions of the attraction in California and in Florida. If you're looking for a deep dive into this ride experience, I recommend checking those videos out because today we're going to focus on the animatronics. I'm going to rank every single animatronic in this ride experience. As far as I can tell, both California and Florida have the exact same number of animatronics, which is kind of funny because Florida has a much larger attraction. So that means Florida has a lot more dead space than California, which I view as a negative. But that's perfect for this video because both of them are the same in terms of animatronics. So this video is going to apply to both Florida and California. Something you should know is that I'm not going to rank every single animatronic individually. If they're part of a band, especially all those critters, I'm going to give them one spot because I'm not going to rank the beaver, the fox, all 3 bears, all of them, especially because they're duplicated in the finale. So instead of 24 individual critter rankings, I'm going to shorten it to 3 different bands, the first band, the second band, and the finale band. So that means there are 22 slots on this list. Before we get started, please like this video. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the animatronics of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate your support. I make my videos ahead of time, so at the time of this recording, we are still pushing for 10,000 subscribers, but I hope by the time that this video is up, we are past 10,000 subscribers. So thank you so much, everybody. These milestones are absolutely incredible. The fact that I can't keep up with this is insane. I really appreciate you all so much. I never imagined I would be saying these words on a YouTube channel, so thank you so much, everybody. Starting things off with number 22, we have Log Lewis. So this one is probably the most upsetting just because of the wasted potential. Like, instead of building a full-scale Lewis animatronic, which they have multiple of in both versions of this attraction, they just built the tail, so it's just like, bruh. Like, obviously that's a lot less impressive to look at. So just on that fact alone is probably my least favorite animatronic in the entire attraction, even if it is not least impressive. Like, it's definitely pretty large scale, like it's pretty tall, like it's probably around a similar height to all the other Lewis figures, but this one's just meh, you know? Moving on to number 21 is the finale Odie. This is the last animatronic you see before you get off the attraction. Honestly, from my many experiences riding this attraction at Disneyland, this has been the animatronic that's most consistently broken. Even when she's working, there's a lot of awkward silence because this is where the logs stack before they go back into the station in both Florida and California. So sometimes you're just staring at her for an uncomfortable amount of time and she'll cycle through her phrases, but in between each phrase, it's just silent. Like in some of the POVs I'm showing you, like her mouth isn't even moving. It's just not a great figure. Like, I don't understand why it's broken all the time. I do like the snake, Juju, that pops up to try to steal the beignets, but other than that, it's just kind of bad, honestly, because even when it works, it still has problems, and this is probably top 3, one of the most unreliable animatronics in the attraction, at least for the California version. Moving on to number 20, we have the 3rd Tiana. This is by far the least impressive Tiana figure. She just kind of nods her head and like vibes. Like, all the other animatronics for Tiana are very impressive. They're very advanced. This one's just kind of chilling in the background, and she moves a lot less than all the other Tiana figures. In this sequence in the attraction, Lewis is the one doing all the talking, but it is disappointing that we missed out on seeing another one of those modern Tiana animatronics that's just hyper fluid and incredible, you know? Like, all this figure does is like turn her head and she's bouncing it in time with the music, so there's that, I guess. Moving on to number 19, we're gonna start digging into the finale animatronics with Tiana's friends. There are 2 of them on the left-hand side for both versions of the attraction. One is wearing pink and just waving, and the other one has an umbrella and she's just kind of swaying side to side. So really not that impressive. They have very simple motions, but the finale has so many animatronics that it's really not that big a deal. Moving up to number 18, we're gonna talk about the first first band of critters that we see in the attraction. So this is a collection of 6 animatronics. They're all very simple. In Florida, you'll see them on your right hand side, and in California, you're gonna see them on your left. You kind of go all the way around them. In Florida, they have like a stage setup, and in California, it's like a circular setup. They're all just kind of swaying or playing their instruments. So none of the motion is incredibly spectacular, but you know, they all work better together, obviously, than if you just look at each animatronic individually. Like the motion is not that complex, which is why I did not have it in me to rank every single animatronic. I'm grouping the bands together. Moving up to number 17, we're gonna talk about the bear band, which is the second band. There's also like foxes or lynx. I don't even know what those creatures are. But in both versions of the attraction, they're gonna be on the right and on the left. Interestingly, in California, the bears are gonna be on the right, but in Florida, the bears are on the left. I also like that the bears have like leaf horns. Like, that's kind of cute. Very similar to the first band. Each figure on its own is not that impressive, but they definitely work well together. They definitely draw attention more than the Tiana figure for this section of the attraction. Moving on to number 16 is kind of a combination of the first band and the second band because it is the finale band. So I'm pretty sure the finale band is just made up of duplicates of each animatronic in both bands. So the bear band and the first band both have 6, so the finale band has 12 animatronics. They're literally the same figures, they're just all put together in the finale. So obviously it's a lot more visually striking since there's so many of them. The set design also works really well in the finale, so they have a great setup. And because there's so much going on other than just those 12 figures, it's kind of easy to get distracted from the fact that they are duplicate animatronics that you've already seen. I can't criticize Tiana's for doing that too much because all of Splash Mountain literally reused animatronics from a completely unrelated attraction. So reusing animatronics like this is nothing new for Disney, which is why I don't think it's that big a deal. Moving on to number 15, also in the finale, is the Lewis animatronic. This Lewis just has limited motion compared to some of the other ones. He's holding a trumpet, which is very cute, and I would still consider this Lewis a complex figure. It's just not as impressive as many of the other Lewis animatronics that we're about to talk about. And again, this figure is definitely playing a supporting role in that finale environment. Moving on to number 14 is Prince Ralphie, who's right next to the finale Lewis. He's on the drums. He's kind of hidden back there. I do like that they brought this character back from the film because most of this attraction is just Tiana and Lewis. So I'm glad that he got an animatronic figure in the finale. Very similarly, number 13 is Prince Naveen, he's right across from Ralphie. He's got a ukulele. His motion isn't that complex, but again, I'm just happy that there's a Prince Naveen animatronic because he almost got shut out of this attraction entirely. Like, in my opinion, he definitely should have played a bigger role in the story, but that's not really what this video is about. Moving up to number 12, we have the Mama Odie at the top of the lift hill, the third lift. So for both versions of the attraction, you don't really have that long to look at her. Mama Odie is a pretty short figure, but the lighting is very impressive. Like the glass bottles, it's almost like rainbow, which is really pretty. And I feel like her motion is more interesting than the motion for the Mama Odie figure at the end of the attraction. And obviously it's a lot less awkward because you go by her so fast. Moving on to number 11, we're going back to the finale for the 4 small frogs. I think this is just, they're obviously very, very unimpressive because they're so small. They are center stage, but I think it just works out because it ties into the story of the attraction. Again, they are duplicate figures, but they're so much smaller than their counterparts. So I think that's just really interesting. I didn't even notice them when I first rode the attraction in Florida. It took me like a ride or two on the California version to even notice that they were there because they're so small and there's so much going on in the finale that it's easy to overlook them, like literally, but it's just so cute. I really appreciate that they're there. But speaking of those large frogs, at number 10, we have the drum frog. In California, they placed this animatronic where Brer Fox used to catch Brer Rabbit, and to me, it just feels like so much wasted space because like he has a whole like alcove back there and it's just one frog and the set design isn't great. Out of the frog animatronics, it's definitely the least impressive in my opinion. I think in Florida, they put this figure closer to the other frogs, which works better, but still banging drums isn't that unique of a motion like so many other animatronics do that in this attraction, including number 9, which is the bongo frog. I like how in the California version, he has like that leaf backdrop, which has cool lighting. In the Florida version, he's the first frog that you see in between the second and the third drop, so he's kind of off on his own, which is kind of funny. His backdrop is a lot less less appealing than the backdrop for the version in California. And it is kind of sad that the Florida version of this frog is off on his own. Like, I'm sure he's lonely up there. Moving on to number 8 is the trumpet frog. This figure doesn't have that impressive of a motion, like he just swings back and forth. But I do like, again, that they use like a flower as a trumpet. I think that's really cute. It's a fun visual, and I think it's more interesting to look at than just the drum frog or the bongo frog, so that's why it ranks higher. And the last frog that we're going to talk about is the piano frog. This one just has the most interesting motion. Like, he's also got like a pleasant facial expression, like he looks kind of smug almost. And obviously the set design is best for this animatronic, at least in the California version. Again, in Florida, the trumpet, the drums, and this figure are all kind of like right next to each other, so they share the same space. In California, you have more time to look at each figure individually, which you can view as a pro and a con. Again, I've already discussed these attractions at length on my channel. So we're gonna move on to number 6, which is actually the first figure that you see on the attraction. It is the lift Tiana. This is a very impressive figure. The thing is that the timing is a little awkward because you can see her for a long time, but she only starts to talk to you when you get really close to her, so it can be like a kind of awkward couple seconds while you're just kind of staring at each other before she starts talking. This is a really impressive figure. Something I do want to mention is that the set design in California is much better than the set design in Florida. Like, in Florida, she's right next to some blank doors, but in California, they're labeled. Plus, you have the lights coming from behind them. It definitely looks cleaner in California, in my opinion. Moving on to number 5, we're gonna talk about the sitting Tiana. She's on the log right next to the Lewis tail, right before the second drop on the attraction. She's got a pretty impressive motion, and this is the only Tiana animatronic that is seated, so I do appreciate that diversity. I do like how in California she's seated on the log that Lewis is putting his head into, while in Florida they're just like completely separate. I think she's on a tree stump in Florida, which is interesting. I don't even remember that. But I do prefer how in California those two figures are closer. Also, in the Florida version, you can, very similar to the lift Tiana, you can see her for a very long time before you reach her, which is kind of awkward. While in California, you almost have too little time because you have that little straight section where you pick up a decent amount of speed and you kind of blitz by her pretty fast. But I would prefer that to that long, awkward straightaway where she's just at the end of it. That is just my opinion. Moving on to number 4 is the second Lewis animatronic. So this is the figure next to the least impressive Tiana animatronic, and he's with the bear band. In the California version, this is another one of those animatronics that I see broken on a regular basis. His motion is very fast and very fluid, so when he is working, he's definitely one of the best figures in the attraction. And as is the same for most animatronics, you have a lot more time to take him in the Florida version compared to California. Moving on to the top 3, we have the second Tiana animatronic. This is the one next to the first band, and she's wearing a hat, which is fun. Very similar to the lift Tiana, she has a very impressive motion, she's very expressive, and again, you have more time to look at her in Florida compared to California, because in California, you're kind of looking at the first band, and then you look across to the other side of the flume, and then boom, there's Tiana, and then you kind of fly by her pretty quick. Moving on to number 2 is the first Lewis. This is my favorite Lewis figure on the attraction. I think he is the most expressive. You have way more time to look at him in Florida than you do in California. I think in Florida, you have the perfect amount of time to look at this figure. While in California, he kind of jump scares you because he's on the right-hand side of the flume after a right-hand turn, so he kind of pops out of nowhere. And then it's just like, oh, hey, Lewis, and then you turn to the left, and then boom, there's the band. So the timing works better for this figure in Florida compared to California. But either way, it's still an impressive figure. And in my opinion, it's the most fluid, most expressive, and most impressive Lewis animatronic in this attraction on both coasts. But my favorite animatronic in Tiana's Bayou Adventure is the final Tiana animatronic. So she has a dress. I do appreciate that it's different from the dress that she wore in the movies. She's like dancing and singing, so her motion is very, very impressive. And on both versions of the attraction, you have an appropriate amount of time to look at her. She's definitely the best animatronic in the finale sequence, which is very, very cool. In the California version, this is another animatronic that has had a lot of issues. It looks like they fixed her in time time for summer, but for a couple of months, this animatronic was kind of in shambles, which is a big disappointment because it's a very important figure for both the story of the attraction and visually. Like, she's literally the centerpiece of the finale of the attraction, so it's very important that that figure is working. I don't know why she's been so problematic. It's like, I don't think she's the most impressive figure that Disney has ever created, especially recently, but in my opinion, she's the most impressive figure for this attraction, which is appropriate because it's named after this frickin' character. So that is my ranking of the animatronics of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree? Let me know how you would rank them, or you can just let me know your least favorite animatronics in this attraction or your favorites. I would love to know. You don't have to rank every single one. I'm always open to video suggestions, so let me know what you want to see down in the comments below. Please like this video, and of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I will catch you later.